She called me her brother. For months, then I introduced her to my new girlfriend, and she framed me with fake police calls to ruin my life. For months, Allie told me I was like a brother to her. Then I introduced her to my new girlfriend, and suddenly she was yelling that I was an opportunistic jerk, that I should have tried harder to earn her, and that I had gotten lazy by settling for someone else. What she did after that was the moment I stopped being patient and went completely nuclear. There is a thing some people do when they want to keep you close, but not too close. They give you a title, something that sounds meaningful, something that makes you feel important. Brother, best friend, ride or die. Pick whatever emotional participation trophy you like best. What it really means is, I need you available, but I do not want you asking for anything in return. I was 28, male, living in Columbus, Ohio, and I spent 10 months learning that being someone's brother meant I got all the responsibilities of a relationship with none of the benefits. It was like being an unpaid intern for someone's emotional stability. I install and inspect fire suppression systems in commercial buildings. My work life is extremely documented. Work logs, building sign-ins, badge records, GPS on the company truck, entry times, exit times, everything. That detail matters later, because eventually those boring little records became the difference between me keeping my freedom and losing my entire life. I met Allie at a mutual friend's cookout last March. Will, the host, had been my friend since high school. I was standing by the grill, arguing with someone about whether the Bengals would ever win a Super Bowl, when Allie walked up like she had been part of the conversation the whole time. The Bengals already won in 2022, she said, stealing a chip off my plate. They lost the Super Bowl in 2022, I corrected her. Close does not count. In Ohio, close absolutely counts, she said. It is basically the state motto. She had brown hair, a confident smile, and the kind of energy that made people turn their heads without realizing they were doing it. She introduced herself as Allie, and that was it. That was the beginning of 10 months of me getting played while convincing myself I was just being a good guy. We exchanged numbers that night. Within a week, we were texting multiple times a day. Coffee runs turned into 3-hour conversations. Movie nights happened at her apartment. I helped her pick out furniture. I drove her to pick up her car from the shop. It all looked like normal friend stuff from the outside, but when I was in the middle of it, it felt like more. I was into her almost immediately, and I was not stupid about it. After about 3 weeks, I tested the waters. We were on her couch, watching some true crime documentary, when I said, "Random question, are you seeing anyone?" She turned toward me with an expression I would later recognize as the look people make when they are about to friend zone you so hard your grandchildren feel it. "I am not dating you," she said, "but you are not going anywhere. Do not get ambitious. You are my person. Just not like that." There it was. The title. The invisible fence. Brother. I should have walked away right then. I stayed because I told myself maybe she just needed time. Maybe she had been hurt before. Maybe she was scared. Maybe she would eventually see what was right in front of her. Maybe. I gave her 10 months of maybe, and every single one of them was wrong. Ally worked in medical billing for a hospital network downtown. She was constantly stressed. She would call me at random hours to vent, sometimes more than once in the same day. I listened every time, because that was what brothers did, right? When her lease ended in June, I helped her move apartments. I showed up with my pickup truck and spent 8 hours hauling furniture up 3 flights of stairs in 90-degree heat. I threw out my back for a week. Afterward, she bought me pizza and said, "You are the most reliable person in my life." Reliable. Another word that sounds like a compliment until you realize it means, I know you will show up, so I do not have to worry about backup plans. I was not a complete doormat. When she wanted me to drive her to the airport at 4 a.m., I told her no, because I had a 7 a.m. service call. She got annoyed and said she did not feel safe going alone at that hour. I offered to pay for an Uber instead. She declined, then acted like I had failed some sacred test. Every time I said no, she would go cold for a while. Then she would come back with, "Are you seriously doing this right now?" The message was clear. My value was tied directly to my availability. Meanwhile, she dated a lot. For someone who claimed she was not looking for a relationship, she cycled through guys like she was trying to set a record. There was David, an accountant from a dating app. That ended after about a month when she found out he was still living with his ex-girlfriend, just in a separate bedroom. Ally called me at 11 p.m., voice shaking, and I drove across town to pick her up from the restaurant where she had been waiting for him to show up and explain himself. He never showed. Before David, There was a startup guy who texted his ex the entire time they were together. After David, there was another guy hiding his relationship status. It was the same pattern every time. She would fall hard, discover the guy was awful, crash emotionally, and I would be the one she called. "Tell me you are free tonight," she would say. "Do not say you are busy." And each time she recovered, she would say, "Why can't guys treat me like you do?" That is a special kind of torture, because the answer was standing right there. "It is me, Allie. I am the guy," but I never said it. By January, something started shifting in me. I began noticing how different the friendship felt depending on what she needed. When she was happy with someone new, I barely heard from her. When things fell apart, I was suddenly the first call. I started declining plans more often. Not to punish her. I was just tired. Will noticed before I fully admitted it to myself. We were shooting pool at his place one night in February when he said, "You know she is never going to see you that way, right?" I lined up my shot and said, "I know." "Do you, though?" he asked. "Because you have been orbiting this girl for almost a year, and she is still calling you her brother while cycling through dudes who treat her like garbage. You are waiting for something that is never going to happen. And while you wait, you are not looking for something that actually could." I did not have a good response, because he was not wrong. "There is a whole city of women out there who might actually want to date you," he said. "Might be worth exploring." I sank the 8 ball, won the game, and decided maybe he had a point. 3 weeks later, I met Cassie. It happened at the county courthouse, which is not exactly romantic, but life does not care about settings. I was there pulling permits for a historic preservation project, a fire suppression overhaul with 14 forms, and a bureaucratic nightmare attached to it. Cassie was the court clerk processing my application. When she saw my stack of papers, half printed wrong and half filled out incorrectly, she laughed. Not mockingly, sympathetically. "First time doing a commercial renovation permit?" she asked. "That obvious? You have 6 forms here that are duplicates, and you are missing the one that actually matters." She slid a sheet across the counter. "Fill this out. Attach it to that one. Toss the rest. Save yourself 3 hours." She had dark hair pulled back, and eyes that said she had seen everything and was not impressed by much. No drama, no performance. Just calm competence. I was into it immediately. "Can I buy you coffee as a thank you?" I asked before I could overthink it. She considered it. Actually considered it. Not in that fake way where someone already knows the answer. "I take lunch at 12:30, she said. "Make it then instead." Deal. That lunch turned into 2 hours. My boss called twice. I sent both calls to voicemail. Cassie was originally from Cincinnati. She had moved to Columbus after a broken engagement. Some guy had cheated on her, then blamed her for not being emotionally available enough. "He said I worked too much," she told me, which was code for, I was not home enough to notice when he had other people over. She had moved to Columbus without knowing a single person and rebuilt from scratch. No self-pity, no poor me energy. She was not looking for someone to save her. She had already figured herself out. "I spent 2 years being someone's emotional support animal," she said. "Now I only date people who actually want to date me." Something about the way she said that hit me right in the chest. It was like she had summarized my entire last year in one sentence. We started seeing each other. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into weekends. It was just 2 adults who enjoyed each other's company and were honest about what that meant. On our 3rd date, Cassie told me she liked me and wanted to see where things went. No games, no mixed signals, no being told I was like a brother while she scanned the room for better options. After a month, it was official. Cassie was my girlfriend. For the first time in almost a year, I felt like I was building something instead of waiting for something to be handed to me. I did not tell Allie about Cassie right away. Not because I was hiding it, but because Allie and I had naturally drifted apart as I pulled back. She had noticed my reduced availability and had been cold about it, which honestly made the distance easier to maintain. I was busy, she was busy. We were not seeing each other as much. When I finally mentioned Cassie during a coffee meetup in late March, it was only because Allie had been texting repeatedly, asking why I had been so distant. Her reaction was immediate and strange. "Wait," she said. "You are dating someone?" "Yeah." "Since when?" "About a month." "A month?" She set her cup down like I had told her. "Someone died. And you did not tell me?" "I am telling you now, but you do not make moves without telling me. That is our thing." She looked genuinely wounded, which I had not expected. "We are close," she said. "We are," I replied. "I have just been busy with the new relationship and work and everything." "Too busy to tell your best friend that your whole life changed?" "It is not my whole life. I am just dating someone. I was not keeping secrets. I just had not gotten around to mentioning it. How did you meet? I was pulling permits for a job. She works at the courthouse. And she just asked you out? I asked her. She said yes. Ally's face did something I had never seen before. There was this quick flash of something between surprise and irritation. Then she covered it with a fake smile. It was like she had to reset her expression before I could read it. So you are not making this a real thing, right? She asked. Because that is a lot. She did not sound happy for me. She sounded like someone who had just learned her backup generator had been sold without notice and was trying to figure out what that meant for future power outages. Ally insisted on meeting Cassie. I have to vet whoever is taking up my brother's time, she said. The way she emphasized brother made it sound less like a term of endearment and more like she was marking territory. We scheduled brunch for the following Saturday at Harper's Table, a nice place downtown. White tablecloths, bottomless pancakes, and an atmosphere built for pleasant, civilized conversations about pleasant, civilized topics. Ally showed up looking like she was attending a job interview for a magazine. Full makeup at 10 a.m. A carefully selected outfit that probably took 2 hours to assemble. Jewelry I had never seen before. The whole production. Cassie showed up in jeans and a nice sweater, looking exactly like herself. The difference was obvious, and it was definitely on purpose. So, Ally said, smiling too brightly, you are the reason he has been hard to reach. Cute. Likewise, Cassie said. He talks about you a lot. He usually runs stuff by me, Ally said. I am basically his filter. It keeps him from making dumb choices. She turned toward me with a look that was clearly meant to establish something. Ownership. History. Priority. We have known each other over a year, I said, trying to keep things neutral. The best year, Ally added. Remember when we went to that concert and the power went out? We just sat in the parking lot for 3 hours talking about everything. That was one of the best nights of my life. I remembered that night differently. Mostly, I remembered being cold and waiting for her rideshare to show up while she complained about the venue's incompetence. But okay, the rest of brunch followed a predictable pattern. Every time Cassie tried to engage in normal conversation about work, interests, or anything that might establish her as a real person instead of an intruder, Ally found a way to redirect everything back to shared memories with me. Inside jokes Cassie could not possibly understand. References to things Ally and I had done together. Stories where Ally was always the main character, and I was always her loyal supporting player. At one point, Ally announced out of nowhere, Keegan is the most reliable person I know. Like, after what David did last summer, Keegan was there within 30 minutes. I did not even have to ask. He just knew. Cassie's eyebrow went up slightly. That is nice, she said. It is just what we do, Ally replied. We take care of each other. Then Ally reached across the table and squeezed my hand. She held it there like she was proving a point to HR. No matter what, she said. The subtext was about as subtle as a fire alarm, and professionally speaking, I know a lot about fire alarms. Cassie's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. This was not a woman trying to get to know her friend's new girlfriend. This was a woman marking her territory. When Cassie excused herself to use the restroom, Ally leaned in immediately. She seems safe, she said. You will get bored. You always circle back. I did not realize you were tracking my type. I just know you, Keegan. Better than anyone. She shrugged innocently, like this was all just friendly concern. I am looking out for you. I appreciate that, I said, but I did not. She knew I did not. And for the first time, she could not pretend otherwise. Cassie came back, and we finished the meal with forced pleasantries. Outside, after Ally hugged me slightly too long and walked away with one more meaningful look over her shoulder, Cassie turned to me. She has feelings for you. No, I said. She just likes having me available. It is different. Keegan, Cassie said, patient but firm. She spent 2 hours reminding me that she knew you first and knew you better. That is not how you treat a friend's new relationship. That is how you mark territory. So what do you want me to do about it? Keep your eyes open. Women like her do not handle being replaced gracefully. This is not over. I should have listened more carefully. The next 3 months were what happens when someone realizes they lost their backup plan. Ally started texting more frequently. Random check-ins that felt like surveillance. Where are you? Who are you with? Do not ignore me. She sent old photos from things we had done together. Remember this? Messages arriving at 11 p.m., when she probably knew I would be with Cassie. She commented on almost everything I posted online, always in a way that established history or intimacy. I remember when you first got that shirt. We were at the mall for like 3 hours. After a week of that, I sent her a clear message. Stop posting old pictures of us. Stop with the 11 p.m. texts. I am with Cassie now. Respect that or we are done talking. She sent back, Seriously? After everything I have done for you? Then she went nuclear quiet. But she did not get it. Next, she started showing up at places I mentioned I would be. I would tell Will I was grabbing dinner at a spot in the short north, and suddenly Ally would walk in. I figured you would be here, she would say. You are predictable. It happened 3 times in 2 weeks. I pulled Will aside and said, Stop sharing my plans with her. I mean it. He looked uncomfortable, but he agreed. Then came the social media campaign. Old photos of us together, captioned with things like, missing my favorite human, and nobody gets me like this one. Every post was timed for maximum visibility, usually right after I posted something with Cassie. So, I blocked Allie. I did not announce it. I did not explain it. I just blocked her. She made a second account to check if I had really done it. I blocked that one too. Things escalated at Will's summer barbecue in early July. It was the same annual gathering where I had first met Allie. Nothing fancy. Just people in a backyard, grilled food, folding chairs, drinks in coolers. Ally showed up uninvited. Nobody had told her about it, but she had seen something on someone's Instagram story and appeared with a casserole dish like she had been expected all along. She spent the entire afternoon positioning herself near me, touching my arm when she talked, laughing too loudly at things I said, calling me my Keegan to other people, like I was a possession instead of a person. Cassie was there, watching it all with increasingly cold eyes. At one point, Allie started telling a story about a camping trip we had supposedly taken the previous fall. That trip never happened. It was complete fiction, invented on the spot, designed to make Cassie feel like an outsider who had missed all the good times. I pulled Allie aside by the garage, away from everyone else. What are you doing? I asked. Having fun at a party, she said. What are you doing? That camping trip did not happen. You are making things up. It happened. No, it did not. You are not going to embarrass me in front of her by pretending you forgot. You are making Cassie uncomfortable on purpose, and you are touching me constantly. Stop. Her face hardened. Then maybe Cassie should get over herself, she said. You had a life before her. I am part of that life. If she cannot handle it, that is her problem. Allie, I am done being polite about this. Done being polite? Her voice dropped. You know what your problem is? You found someone boring and stable, and now you are pretending that is what you always wanted. But I know you, Keegan, better than she ever will. You do not know me at all, I said. You know the version of me that was stupid enough to wait around hoping you would change your mind. Silence. I waited for you for almost a year, I continued. I was available every time you called, and you kept me exactly where you wanted me. Close enough to need, but not close enough to want. That is done now. Do not contact me again. I walked away. Will had seen the whole thing from across the yard. He gave me a small nod. It was the first time he had ever looked at me like I had finally figured something out. 2 weeks later, Allie showed up at my job site. I was doing an inspection at a new office building downtown. Badge and security, sign-in sheets, visitor logs, the whole 9 yards. The kind of building where they take safety protocols seriously, because the tenants include a law firm and a financial services company. I was in the mechanical room on the 4th floor, 40 feet up on a scissor lift, checking pressure gauges on the main riser, when the site foreman radioed me. Keegan, there is a woman at the front desk saying she is your sister. Says it is a family emergency. My blood went cold. I do not have a sister. I came down and walked out to the lobby. Allie was standing there, looking panicked in a way that was obviously rehearsed. The second she saw me, she rushed over and grabbed my arm. Keegan, thank God. I need to talk to you. It is important. The security guard was watching. The receptionist was watching. The foreman was definitely watching. I could feel my professional reputation shrinking in real time. There is no emergency, I said, keeping my voice flat. She is not my sister. She is nobody. Keegan, please. You need to leave now, or I am calling the police. The security guard stepped forward. Ma'am, you need to go. Ally looked at me with this expression of wounded betrayal, like I was the one who had done something wrong, like showing up at my workplace under false pretenses was a reasonable thing that reasonable people did. You do not get to demote me because you found someone new, she said quietly. I used to be stupid about a lot of things, I said. Leave. Security escorted her out, but she stopped at the door and turned back. You are an opportunistic jerk, she spat. You should try harder to get me instead of settling for some courthouse nobody. Then she raised her voice so everyone could hear. You should have earned me. You got lazy. Now you are panicking. I did not respond. The security guard put a hand near her arm, and she shook him off before walking out on her own. Afterward, I had to fill out an incident report. The foreman pulled me into his office and asked what the heck that had been about. I gave him the short version. He said he would keep it between us, but the look on his face told me he would be watching me more closely now. The building manager requested that I use a different entrance for the rest of the project. That night, I told Cassie everything. She listened without interrupting, then said, "She is escalating. This is not going to stop on its own. We need to make sure we have it on record." She sat me down and made me walk through every incident while she typed dates, times, what happened, who witnessed it, and what evidence existed. She built the whole thing into a spreadsheet with timestamps and evidence links. When I started spiraling about how insane it all felt, she just said, "Focus on one thing at a time." That was Cassie. No drama, just solutions. And somehow, I was still wrong about how bad it could get. 3 weeks later, I got arrested. It started with a phone call. A detective from Columbus PD said they had recordings and caller ID hits tied to my name. A formal complaint had been filed. He asked if I could come down to the station to clear something up. He made it sound routine. Just a few questions. I walked in at 10 a.m. They took my phone immediately. "Standard procedure," they said. Then they led me to an interview room instead of a regular desk. The detective sat across from me with a folder thick enough to be intimidating. "We just need your side of things," he said. But his tone was not curious. It was already convinced. The charge was interference with emergency communications. According to the detective, someone had been making repeated calls to the police department's non-emergency line over the past 2 weeks. Dozens of calls. Hang-ups, heavy breathing, fake wellness check requests. Wasted resources. All of them had displayed my landline number on caller ID. I did not even use my landline anymore. It came with the apartment, and I had kept it active for emergencies. But I could not remember the last time I had actually dialed out on it. "There has been a mistake," I said. "I did not make those calls." The detective slid a paper across the table. They already had a warrant signed that morning based on the caller ID evidence and the formal complaint. "That is what everyone says," he replied. "We will sort it out." Nobody in that room was treating caller ID spoofing like a real possibility yet. They processed me. Fingerprints, mugshot. The report described me as volatile and fixated, like I was some guy Allie needed protection from. There were other men in there who looked like they belonged there. I did not look like I belonged there, which somehow made everything worse. The intake officer asked if I had any gang affiliations with the same energy someone might use to ask about food allergies. The holding cell smelled like industrial cleaner and bad decisions. My phone call went to Will, who got me a criminal defense lawyer. My employer found out because I was supposed to be at a job site by 1 p.m. and simply never showed up. It was the first time in 4 years I had a reputation at work. I was the guy who showed up early, double-checked everything, and never missed a callback. My supervisor once said I was the only tech who had clients specifically request him. Now, HR was sending emails about a concerning absence and a pending review of my status. Commercial clients do background checks, government contracts especially. My whole career was suddenly balanced on something I did not do. My lawyer got me released on my own recognizance, but the damage kept spreading. The legal retainer was $1,500 just to get started, $250 an hour after that. My savings account took a hit that would take months to recover from. My company pulled me off a government contract site. Too much liability with a pending charge, they said. They reassigned me to residential work, which paid 40% less. Some of my coworkers stopped making eye contact with me in the break room. That night, Cassie sat across from me in silence for a long time. Then she said, "I need some space, just for a week, just until I can think clearly about all this." That hurt worse than the arrest. "Someone is framing me," I said. "I know," she replied. "I believe you." She grabbed her jacket. "But I need to process it. I will call you." She did call a week later. But that week was the longest 7 days of my life. Just me alone, wondering if everything I had built was collapsing because one woman could not handle being told no. My lawyer helped me fight back. We requested detailed call logs from the police department and cross-referenced them with my actual phone records, my work schedule, and my location data. For 14 of the 17 calls, I was physically at job sites, documented and signed into buildings with security protocols that recorded entry and exit times. One call happened while I was in a team meeting with 6 coworkers. Another happened while I was on a service call 30 miles from my apartment, with GPS records from my work vehicle proving where I was. I also discovered something interesting about my landline account. Someone had called the phone company and, by providing enough personal information, had requested account details, including the full number. The phone company's security was garbage, and they could not tell me who had called, but someone had clearly been doing homework on my life. The security camera footage sealed it. My apartment building had recently installed cameras after a string of car break-ins. I requested footage for the nights several of the calls were made. On two separate occasions, between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m., the footage showed Allie's car in the visitor parking lot. It was not parked normally, it was idling, like someone was sitting there doing something they did not want to do from home, then leaving. The timestamps matched the call logs within minutes. When my lawyer presented everything to the prosecutor, they became very interested in having a conversation with Allie instead of me. The charges against me were dropped 4 days later. Insufficient evidence. Possible third-party involvement. Ongoing investigation. Getting my job back took 2 weeks of meetings. A letter from my lawyer, a formal apology from HR that felt about as sincere as a form letter, and one uncomfortable conversation where my supervisor admitted they had jumped the gun. The government contract was gone, though. Once you are pulled off something like that, they do not invite you back, even if you are cleared. But the investigation did not stop when my charges disappeared. It shifted targets. The police obtained records from Allie's phone carrier. They found evidence of a burner phone purchased with cash. They found caller ID spoofing software on her laptop when they got a warrant. They found text messages to a friend where she bragged, "He will learn you do not just replace me and walk away." Ally was charged with filing false police reports, interference with emergency communications, and criminal harassment. They were misdemeanors, but they were the kind that came with potential jail time, mandatory fines, and a permanent record that would show up on every background check for the rest of her life. She lost her job at the hospital within a week. It turns out healthcare systems do not love employing people with pending criminal cases involving fraud and harassment. Her parents had to hire her a lawyer. I heard her dad had to dip into retirement savings because she had burned through her own money on legal fees and could not make rent. And I had not even started my part yet. Some people believe in turning the other cheek. I believe in making sure people choke on the consequences of what they did. She had tried to destroy my career, my relationship, and my freedom. The legal system was handling the official punishment, but I was not done making sure the consequences stuck. The real revenge was paperwork. I filed for a civil stalking protection order. I documented every incident, from the social media campaign, to the workplace ambush, to the framing attempt. The court granted it within 2 weeks. Now any contact from her was not just creepy, it was criminal. I submitted a restitution packet through my lawyer that went beyond the standard ask. Legal fees, obviously, but also lost wages from when I got reassigned to residential work. Documentation of the government contract I lost. The income difference for the remaining 8 months of that project. Every dollar I could prove, her actual legal problems multiplied from there. The criminal charges resulted in a plea deal. No jail time, but 2 years of supervised probation with strict conditions. A permanent criminal record that could not be expunged. 120 hours of community service at a domestic violence shelter, which was ironic given what she had tried to do to me. Court-ordered restitution covering my legal fees, $4,200 paid over 18 months. Every check she wrote had my name on it. There was also a no-contact order with actual teeth. Any violation meant automatic jail time. For anything restitution did not cover, my lawyer sent a demand letter threatening civil action. The threat alone was enough. Her parents paid the difference just to make it stop. Another $6,000 for the contract losses. They were not happy about it. I was not trying to make them happy. The background check reality hit Allie fast. Healthcare locked her out. Anything involving patient information, billing systems, or HIPAA compliance was off the table permanently. Finance was the same problem. Administrative work at any company that handled sensitive data was a no. She had basically disqualified herself from every job she had ever been trained to do. She had to move back in with her parents because she could not afford rent without a job, and her credit was destroyed. I heard through the grapevine that she tried to get a fresh start at a medical supply company. Entry level. Nothing fancy. She made it through 2 interviews. Then her former supervisor from the hospital showed up for a conference in the same building, recognized her in the lobby, and word got around. The job offer disappeared. Last I heard, she was working retail at a Home Goods, folding towels for $12 an hour. Choices have receipts, and hers were adding up. But I was not quite done adding to her tab. There is legal revenge, which feels good in a grown-up, I did this by the book kind of way. Then there is petty revenge, which is satisfying in a way that makes you laugh every time you think about it for the rest of your life. I decided Allie deserved both. One night, I was sitting on the couch half watching some reality show while Cassie read beside me, and I had a thought. Ally had weaponized my contact information against me. It seemed only fair to return the favor, not illegally. Nothing that would violate the no-contact order, just creatively. Her parents' address was public record by then, thanks to the court filings, and the internet is full of organizations that are absolutely thrilled to spread the good word to anyone who might be interested in receiving it. So I signed her up for everything. Jehovah's Witnesses. I checked the box for, please visit me to discuss spiritual matters. Mormons. I requested a personal consultation about the Book of Mormon. Scientology. Those people are persistent. I requested their free personality test on her behalf and indicated that she was very interested in learning more about becoming clear. Local Baptist churches, running outreach programs. A few Catholic parishes with active evangelism. A Buddhist meditation center that sent weekly newsletters. A Hare Krishna temple that apparently still did door-to-door visits in Ohio. I used burner emails and a VPN. Obviously, I am not an amateur. Within 2 weeks, I heard through the grapevine that her parents' doorbell had become a revolving door of spiritual enlightenment. 2 young guys in white shirts and ties showed up on a Tuesday asking to speak with Ally about her eternal salvation. A group of very enthusiastic women from a local church arrived with pamphlets about their women's Bible study. Someone left a copy of Dianetics in the mailbox with a handwritten note saying they looked forward to meeting her. Her dad, a man who apparently just wanted to watch ESPN in peace during retirement, was losing his mind. Every time he answered the door, another smiling face was asking if Ally had a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, or if she had considered that the truth might be found in the teachings of L. Ron Hubbard. The Scientologists were the real MVPs. Once you are on their list, you are on it forever. They called. They mailed. They showed up. They did not take "not interested" for an answer. It was like signing someone up for the world's most aggressive book club, except instead of romance novels, it was e-meters and billion-year contracts. The best part was that there was nothing illegal about any of it. I was not contacting her. I was just sharing her information with people who wanted to help her find peace and meaning in life. Very thoughtful of me, really. Some might even call it generous. Her mom eventually posted on Nextdoor, asking how to get removed from religious solicitation lists. The comments were not helpful. Someone suggested answering the door naked. Someone else said the only way to stop Scientologists was to die, and even then they might still try to audit your thetan. Will showed me the post. I laughed so hard I almost choked on my drink. Was it mature? No. Was it necessary? Also no. Did it make me stupid happy every time I pictured Ally trying to explain to another group of smiling missionaries that she did not actually want to talk about Jesus? Absolutely. Weeks passed. I heard updates through the grapevine, but I did not engage directly. Cassie and I were building something real. We moved in together in October. A small apartment. Too many plants because she kept buying clearance ones to save them. Not enough closet space. And constant arguments about the thermostat. Perfect. Then, 8 months after the arrest, Ally showed up at my door. I almost did not recognize her. She had lost weight, but not in a healthy way. The kind of weight loss that makes clothes hang wrong and cheekbones look sharp. Her hair was shorter and grayer than I remembered. The makeup that used to be perfect was gone. Everything about her looked like life had been beating her down and winning. "Can we talk?" she asked. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I did not say anything. I pulled out my phone and started recording. "I apologized," she said. "So you can stop doing this to me now." I kept recording and stepped back inside the doorway. "You owe me closure," she said. "I did not come here to be treated like a criminal." I dialed 911 and put it on speaker. 911. "What is your emergency?" "I need to report a protection order violation," I said. "The subject is currently at my residence." I gave the dispatcher my address and kept my voice flat. "I am documenting the encounter." Ally's face went white. She had not thought about that. She had been so focused on whatever closure she thought she deserved that she had forgotten she was risking jail time just by standing on my doorstep. "Keegan, please," she whispered. "You should leave," I said. "They will be here in about 4 minutes." She practically ran to her car and peeled out of the lot. I did not chase her. I did not argue. I stayed on the line with dispatch and provided her plate number and direction of travel. The police found her 2 blocks away, pulled over and crying. They cuffed her in front of a family loading groceries into their minivan. The protection order violation triggered an automatic probation review. Her lawyer called the prosecutor begging for leniency. It did not help. Her probation officer added conditions, and her lawyer looked like he had aged a decade in one hearing. I did not have to do anything else. I just let the system crush her again. I went back inside, where Cassie was making dinner. She looked up when I walked in. "Who was that?" "Nobody," I said. She nodded and went back to stirring. She did not push it. That is one of the things I love about her. And that was finished.